Live with Shawna at Shaw-Roco Solutions, Ask the Expert Night. I'm a real estate entrepreneur and I focus on helping Albertans become homeowners through our rent-to-own program. I also work with other investors generating better than average returns on your investment. And tonight I'm hosting an interview with one of our professional team members, Danelle Cole from The Place to Mortgage. So welcome, Danelle, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'll just get right into the questions. So, Danelle, you have a very extensive background, not only as a mortgage broker, but also as an investor yourself. And I was wondering if you could just tell us about your background.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely have a passion for everything real estate. I became a mortgage broker over 15 years ago, and I guess I found it just made sense to put my training and connections to use personally as well. So to be honest, I found the more I used my skills personally, the more I had to offer my clients with both hands-on experience and knowledge as well as the ability to relate. So I've just continued to take real estate investment courses and experiment with different real estate investing strategies to gain as much hands-on experience and specialization as possible. So to date, I've personally completed more than 20 real estate transactions, which usually consisted of some form of creative real estate investing strategy or another. I've dabbled in renos and flips, self-builds, long-term rentals, rent-to-own, vendor take-backs, sandwich lease, RSP mortgage lending and borrowing, you name it. I've probably experimented with it in some way or another. I think my background really gives the investors and clients that I work with a sense of confidence, knowing that in most cases I have the hands-on experience. I think that I've become most well-known with the investors I work with for my rent-to-own program.
That's awesome. I love hearing your story just because when we first met and I was in Red Deer there with one of your functions and we got to sit down and then when you got up and started talking about who you are and everything, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. This is, it's pretty inspiring, just your background and what you've accomplished. Yeah. So as a mortgage broker, you have one of the best and thorough processes that I have actually ever seen. So can you tell us about the approach you use when you're qualifying potential tenant buyers?
Yeah, well, I guess let me first say that I think rent-to-own is a brilliant strategy when done correctly. And I'll touch on that a little bit more here in a minute. But it kind of became a means for me to provide my clients that didn't quite qualify for a mortgage today with an alternate solution. So usually when a client is coming to me, they are done with renting. So they want to be able to make their home a home, which is hard to do when you know that you're just renting temporarily. So for those clients, it's so nice to be able to partner them with someone like yourself, Shawna, who is willing to work with a future buyer to create a win-win solution. So for it to be a win-win, the clients need to reasonably be able to reach their goal of home ownership in a reasonable amount of time. So that basically is the first step in my approach. After taking a full application and analyzing the application, is putting a plan in place, outlining a step-by-step action plan that must be completed before qualifying. Then following up with the client on a regular basis to ensure things are still on track. I guess kind of like a coach, you can say. And then right through to closing, I assist with obtaining a mortgage approval with my top tier access to dozens of lenders. I'm able to assist the clients with obtaining the best rates and products available for their situation.
That's awesome. I like that you use the word coach because there's so many people out there that depending on what the situation is, and there's just some people that have truly come across where they're at in their lives where they've had to use like all their credit cards and kind of like here and there, and then they're so leveraged and they can come close to the rent to own program, but they really just need that expertise and somebody to help coach them along and give them that path to go down to make sure at the end of the term, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 or whatever the term is, that they then qualify. And for me, it's awesome to have someone like you because that's your background, and that's what you're really good at, to work with them through that. And then that helps me feel really confident, in us working together and what we can provide the tenant buyer. So thank you so much for that.
I enjoy it for sure.
And another question I have is, or just wanted to ask you, is you also work with the tenant buyers, or it's kind of like what I was just talking about, on cleaning up their credit and preparing them to qualify for their mortgage at the end of the rental term. So tell us about how you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, like as we said, there can be many reasons a client may not qualify today. So it could be credit issues, it could be income, like someone who's self-employed maybe, and they've been writing off as much as possible to keep their taxes to a minimum. That can always be a little bit of an issue when it comes time to qualifying. Or maybe just a high debt load or not quite enough down payment at this point in time. So I just help clients to pinpoint whatever it is that's holding them back. And then, as mentioned, I provide a full detailed analysis that outlines what needs to be done. So if it's credit, for example, we look at what can be done to improve the score as fast as possible. We look at the different categories that make up the credit score. And I coach my client on what needs to be done to improve each category and kind of give them some direction on how long those changes will take to affect their score. I'm also a member of Equifax, so I'm able to call in directly and inquire if any changes and corrections have happened, and I get a lot more results a lot quicker. As a member, they have like 72 hours to respond to me, where I don't know if you've ever heard of any clients that try to deal with Equifax on their own, but it can be a little bit of a nightmare to try to get things adjusted and fixed correctly or find out why the score is what it is. So it's kind of nice to have that connection there. But if it's something else, like if the debt ratios are too high, I provide calculations as to what debt maybe can be eliminated so that they can qualify down the road. And we put a plan in place to eliminate that debt and figure out how long it'll take. Or for my self-employed clients, sometimes we look at how much income needs to be declared to qualify for the purchase price range that they're looking for. So, that might mean maybe not writing off quite as much for a year or two just to help them reach that goal. So we do all those calculations. What else? I guess we just track the changes over time. And once everything is aligned to where it needs to be, then we move forward with the final mortgage approval and purchase. So it's so awesome when my clients finally reach their goal of home ownership.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. We used to self-employment. Can you just touch on that just for a little second? Because I did have, with a contractor, we were talking about it, and I couldn't fully explain everything why the lenders wouldn't lend him being self-employed when he, had been self-employed actually at this particular case for, I think it was just over 3 years, but apparently him and his wife changed, or I think it was more than 4 years, but they changed the dividend structure on how they were pulling out funds out of the business. And because they had changed that, because she had got a different job, and so he was now pulling out, instead of whatever the single amount was, he was pulling out the same amount of money, but it was all going to him. So then that put up a red flag with the banks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, the benefit of being a broker, as I am, is I have access to dozens of different lenders, and to be honest, they all have different ways of looking at the income and calculating it. So that's one benefit, is I can take it to a lender that's maybe okay with that scenario, and I can explain it correctly to the lender and structure the deal properly that it looks appealing to a lender. But yeah, there's all different scenarios with whether you're taking a dividend or you're paying yourself as an employee with T4 income, and how much you're writing off and how much income you're showing. And there's definitely numerous different scenarios and different ways that different lenders look at a deal. So I'm able to just help clients figure out what the best approach is, and then I'm able to help structure the file, structure the deal, and make them look as appealing as possible to the lender when the time comes to purchase. So.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. Well, as everybody has just heard, it's very important for us at Shaw-Roco Solutions to work with professional mortgage brokers like Danelle, not only to qualify our potential buyers, but just to also make sure that they're well on their way to owning their home at the end of the term. And it's also very important for us when it comes to teaming up with our joint venture partners investing with us. We want to make sure, that the risks are minimized and that we can generate a greater, than average return on their investment. So it works out for, a win-win for everybody. Thank you so much, Danelle. It was wonderful to interview you tonight. That's it for tonight, everyone. Thanks for joining me and Danelle. If you're watching the replay, or if you have any questions, type them in. We'll try and get back to you. Share us, like us, and if you have any questions for Danelle, you can type in here as well. And thank you again, Danelle. It was wonderful interviewing you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.